I've spent the last couple of hours, I suppose, since I got up. Not much left. Quietly working away at this diagram that you saw in the beginning. And it's an unusual diagram. When I started off, first thing I wrote down was error of dominance, and I was going to write down error of submission under here, but I started to write the D, you can see. So why am I writing this? And then the diagram, I sort of said, well, I write dominance there, and I said, it's a different axes. And so we've got an error of dominance in two directions and an error of submission in two directions. So that was interesting because I've been researching and analysing and trying to come to the bottom of the problem of homosexuality and lesbianism and all the different mixtures and combinations of male and female and subdominance and submissive and so on and so forth. And I think I've got to the bottom of it here. And so I'm sharing this with you because it's necessary to understand the problem before the solution can come into the universe. The problem exists to teach man a lesson. And when man learns a lesson, he learns it by understanding the law in the universe about dominance and submission, and how you can make errors in 4 different directions. Now, there's not enough coffee in here, because I've been working all morning and I need another cup of coffee. So I'm going to make some more coffee, and I'm going to try to explain this diagram to you. And I hope in the process that we can learn together, as I did. I've only just been presented with this by the avatar synthesis. So we can learn together what the avatar synthesis is showing us about the problem of homosexuality and lesbianism in the world, and how we can avoid the mistakes so that we remain a beautiful divine couple rather than going on this strange journey. Okay? Thanks for watching. Now, before I start this, I'd like to say I've had quite a bit of experience in my life with relationships turning from heterosexual into lesbian relationships. My divine partner, the lady, who I lost because of these issues on the diagram, ended up as a lesbian in the end. My brother took the lady of another man and he had children with her, and eventually she became a lesbian. Yeah. And that man that he took, the partner of, took my partner, the one I told you, who became a lesbian. Very interesting. So our behaviour with our ladies as men determines what happens to them. If we're not good enough to lead them, they'll be given some woman to lead them. Yeah. Now, my experience with homosexuality, because I'm a man, I can experience homosexuality directly. And so God led me to have certain experiences which I knew that if I continued in this direction, I would lose my lady and become homosexual. Yeah? I knew that because I was starting to feel like that. Okay, and God led me to that just to show me from personal experience what one can do to change one from heterosexual into homosexual. So I had personal experience there. I didn't do it, I just felt like doing it. Yeah? Now, I didn't do it because I understood many things. I mean, I've been 10 or 15 years on the journey to the divine couple. So these were higher level events in my life that I was able to analyze and study and not go down the dark side. It was just God showing me this is how one will go down the dark side if one didn't understand and didn't learn one's lesson. Yeah. And what I'd done was I'd failed to correct her when she made a mistake. I just thought, I won't bother. It's too much trouble. Yeah? Okay, now the flies, yeah? It's buzzing around. Okay, now there's two lesbians just walking past, an elderly lesbian couple, and they're talking amongst themselves, probably talking about people. And I decided not to have coffee because I've had a bit of coffee today, and I was feeling a little bit under the weather yesterday, and I realised that I hadn't had any orange juice for a long time. And if you run out of vitamin C or whatever is in orange juice that we seem to need, if we don't go out in the sun that much, well, you start to feel a bit lightheaded and a little bit under the weather. Not as focused mentally and spiritually. So what I've done is I don't drink raw orange juice because it's a bit acidic on the body. So what I do is I mix it together with milk. So I've got milk and cream and orange juice. It's quite a nice drink actually. And it's getting my orange juice medicine into me, which I don't need that often. If I go without orange juice for a month, 3 weeks to a month, then I start to notice it. Just to let you know, drink a bit of orange juice now and again. I discovered this because when I went on my bardic journey and gave everything up, had no money and just had to be on the road, I was unable to buy anything. I had no money at all. And so I just never got any orange juice. And eventually I was so spun out, I ended up going to a garage and there was a little bottle of orange juice, and I bought, I must have had some money, somehow somebody gave me some money or something. I bought a little bottle of orange juice, and as soon as I drank the orange juice, it was instantaneous. The body was saying, okay, now you got the message, we're back to normal again. It's very interesting how nature teaches us our mistakes. Yeah? So the first thing you get when you make this kind of mistake in the couple, this dominant submissive problem, is you feel like having sex in your mind with the opposite sex, or you feel like the opposite sex having sex with you, depends on which which direction you go in. Or you feel like having sex with a little girl or a little boy, something like that. This is at the dangerous end of the business, when you've made the mistake a few times, you're well into it, maybe years into it, and now you're starting to want this other stuff. Okay. Now, I'm going to go through the diagram, and only the diagram can help you understand this fully, because it's so complex, really. It's complex. Yet it's kind of simple. The diagram simplifies it, and so it allows us to understand and talk about it through this diagram. And this is science. It's the science of the word and the science of nature. I have a whole series of videos called The Science of Nature, where I go more into this sort of stuff, I think. Can't remember exactly what's in it. So if you want to know more about the background behind this kind of science, have a look at the Science of Nature series of videos. There's probably a playlist there. Let's have a look at this diagram. Okay, well, I hope the exposure's all right, because it's hard to get it right with this white paper. All right, so what we've got here is we've got too much dominance, and here we've got too little dominance, and here we've got too little submission, and here we've got too much submission. So we've got the error of submission and the error of dominance. And this is right and just right. We have to be just right on these axes. We can't go in any direction too much without breaking the law. There's only a certain area within this graph that we can go and still be a good divine couple. If we go outside of these areas, then we lose the divine couple. And within this area of operation, there should be no I, no ego. The couple is equal in oneness, okay, in this process. It's only when it goes to either side that it's incorrect. Now, the couple can start off in error. It can start off with when there was never any divine couple. That always one of the partners was trying to get, one of the partners would have been here, too much dominance or too little submission. And dominance and submission are male and female qualities respectively. So generally the male in the natural order, the natural couple, is slightly dominant. It has a dominant role to play in the coupleship and does things in a positive way. And the lady is typically a little more submissive than the male and does things in a negative way. You've got positive and negative aspects of the couple. And this keeps everything in balance and makes sure that if the man makes a mistake, the lady corrects him, and if the lady makes a mistake, the man corrects her. And ladies are corrected by dominance, and men are corrected by submission. It's very interesting how this works. Or should we say lack of submission? Too little submission corrects the man, and too much dominance corrects a female. Okay, now that's how the diagram works. And you'll see that when they're both together, when everything is in balance, then they both love each other, okay? Yet as they move into these various axes, then you'll see in this here, as they move out of divine coupleship, then it becomes, I love you, I feel contempt for you. The dominant says, I feel contempt for you. The too submissive says, I love you. In here, where we have, this one is the too little dominance. If a person has too little dominance, then they say, I am too weak to fight. I am too weak to fight you, so I'll just give up. It says, but this one says, too much submission says, you are too strong to fight. You are too strong to fight. Or I am too weak to fight. Now, you'll see there's opposite. Is this one says, I love you. This one says, I hate you. I hate you. This is where hatred comes in. Is the error of from the error of submission. Too little submission produces hate. And the too little dominance produces resentment. Okay, so this one says, I resent you. This one says, I hate you. This one says to this one, I won't do it. This one says, you will do it. I won't do it. I'll do it with your enemy. I'll do it with your friends. I speak behind your back. I'll cancel you by telling lies about you. Okay, I think you understand the way the diagram has been made. I'm going to take 5 and talk about it a little bit away from the diagram. Now notice when I watched that back that I said that you could turn to the opposite sex. Now what I meant was that the opposite of the normal sex. I should have said you turn to the same sex, but no, it's not necessarily that. You turn to the opposite of what is normal. So if it's normal for you to be attracted to ladies, you then suddenly be attracted to men, and vice versa, okay? So I didn't make a mistake. I needed to correct that. Now that's the avatar doing this, not me, and so I just have to notice these little things, get the avatar's message right. Okay. Once you're in a homosexual or lesbian relationship, it's possible, I don't know enough about that because I've never been in that, so I can't really give you advice on that. Yeah, it's probably the same. There are probably good relationships involving that. There may not be. There may be no future in that. It's interesting that it doesn't produce babies, so it's kind of like a self-defeating status, not destined to continue the race. So it does seem to be an error, you know. Well, I don't know. It's for the gay community, if you want to call it that, to decide if it's an error, if it's not an error, if it can be perfect. In every relationship, I believe, there is dominance and submission. There's a dominant half and a submissive half. It doesn't have to be completely submissive or completely dominant. It's just that there's one which is playing that role, whether it's a male-female couple or female-female couple or a male-male couple. There's always a dominant and submissive one of the couple. You don't have two dominants and two submissives together. You don't have that at all. Nature doesn't do that ever. It doesn't bring, it brings opposites together. It doesn't bring similarities together. Because we can't learn from the similarities. We only learn from our opposites. Now, a woman is a much stronger, more courageous animal than a man. A woman is more courageous. A woman will do all sorts of stuff. If you have a war and the men kill some people, yeah, the woman can go in and cut their penises off and also mutilate them afterwards. Only they are so powerful that they can do that, so dominant yeah, in that situation. And so women are capable of being more dominant than men. And so If you're a lady with a gentleman and he can't control you, he just, no matter what he does, no matter what he tells you, no matter how courageous he is, without going completely over the top and becoming an Andrew Tate kind of guy, doesn't want to go that far because then he's breaking the law. If you only go so far and you find him not dominant enough, okay, so you're suffering from an excess of inability to submit. If you're not able to submit to a normally dominant man, then what happens is nature puts you with a woman, lesbian, and nature puts you with a dominant lesbian. You become a submissive to that lesbian, so that lesbian can teach you much more harder dominance, and your submissiveness is then brought into more counterpoint, so that you are either going to become submissive and learn your lessons of submission to become more submissive, or you're going to probably turn into a dominant. I'm not sure exactly how it happens because I've never been on the journey myself, but I imagine this is the process. Okay. And I have talked to people who have been in lesbian relationships briefly and then escaped from them, and I think they found themselves kind of like slaves, and they wanted to get out, and they passed through that test of will I be a slave or will I not be a slave, and got out, and then they're able to go back to being with men again. The ones who can't get out, or the ones that are too powerful, then become dominant lesbian, male-like part of the couple. Yeah. And the same goes for homosexual relationships. Bullies tend to become homosexual, male-like predators on boys. They become predators on little girls and become predators on little boys. Yeah? It depends on, well, I don't know. I can't understand it, yet it's the bullying aspect that causes it, where they're too dominant, and they end up with people who become slaves. They're too submissive. The too dominant ends up with the too submissive, and then you get child abuse, yeah, and that sort of stuff. And so everything's got an explanation on this diagram of dominant submissives, too much, too little, in both domains. Okay. I think now you understand how the diagram holds together. Now I'm going to take the diagram in my hand and just go over this a little bit. If you want to, well, you could photograph the diagram on your screen if you had a computer and look at it at the same time as me, I suppose. Or maybe I've got to do it on the camera. I just feel there's too much on the diagram. I'd just like to focus on a small piece of it. Perhaps on each quarter. Let's do that. Let's put it on the camera and we'll go through each quarter, 1/4 of the diagram at a time. And that will probably help. And maybe we'll go over the 2 halves and then the whole or something. We'll find out what we're going to do. Okay. It's not easy actually. Okay, so the bully says, you see this is This is speaking. He says, do this, do that. And even though it's wrong, okay, even though it's wrong, some of the things he says to do are wrong. And it's wrong to tell people what to do at all, really. And so you're already bullying people when you're saying, do this, do that. So all organisations, well, most organisations, I've worked for organisations where they don't tell you to do anything. You just have meetings and discuss what needs to be done, and then everybody goes away and does what they need to do. But some organisations say, do this, do that, and when they stop telling you what to do, you just got to stand there and not do anything, yeah? Become a slave. What happens is it controls it. And what happens is to the person who does this in the couple, what happens is they lose the love for the other party. The love goes away. So instead of thinking, I love you, they start to feel contemptuous of their relationship for you. They have no love at all in their heart for you. Yet, the one that they control, they love them even more. They get into that love which is, what's the word? It's needy, a needy love, yeah. And so, normally love is not needy. Love is just love. And that needing love where I'm going to die if I can't be with you, that sort of love, that is what this person feels, who is too submissive. Okay. Now, I'm going to try and move in the diagram because that might be easier. I can't see what's on the camera. Okay. That might work. Well, it's not actually because it's not got the bottom of it here. Okay, so let's try that. That's better. Okay, so here we have the wimp. The opposite of the bully is the wimp. And the wimp, even though the person is wrong, what they're saying is wrong, the wimp fails to correct them because then it's going to cause an argument. And so they don't want to be in disagreement with the bully. And so they say, I do it when it's wrong and I know it. But they don't say it. This one says do it. This one just thinks it. I'm doing it when it's wrong and I know it. I know it's wrong, but I'm still doing it. Okay? But I'm doing it with resentment. I resent you. So that's the error of too little dominance. You fail to correct the bully, okay? And we can see that there's a lot of this going on in the world now, of everybody just going along with the bully, yeah? And you see this in Donald Trump's followers, where he does all the talking and they don't say anything. They just keep quiet and they're just thinking it, yeah? Now, you'll see here the error of submission. Sorry about that. Too much submission, and they say in their mind, I love you, why don't you love me? Or they even say it to you, I love you, why don't you love me? And it's because they failed to break free from slavery. They recognize that the person's a bully, but they don't break free. They just keep on and on and on in the relationship. And then they become a slave. And they just have to do whatever this person says. And it says, I love you. I'll even do it with your friends. So I'll even have sex with your friends, yeah? Okay, we've talked about that on other videos. Okay, now there's an interesting counterpart to that over here, which is the one of too little submission. Says, I'll do it with your enemy. I'll do it with your enemy. Okay, so even though you got some guy who's your enemy, I'll go and have sex with him behind your back, yeah? Because that's how they dominate him. through the lack of submission. Okay, because the error of submission says, I won't do it, even though I should do it. I won't do it because you said do it, or something like that, or even you didn't say do it. I just won't do it. So just you can have a normal person in a relationship, and the other person says, and then when this person comes to says, oh, I feel like making love to you, dear, this one says, no, I'm feeling tired. Not tonight, dear. They're lying. They just don't want to do it. Yeah, they just won't. They just say, I hate you. Why would I want to do that with you? But they don't do that. They lie, and so the lies are coming out of this lies and the cancel culture, which is all of these people underneath all of these people. So these are naturally grouped together. Okay, they're naturally grouped together. They're haters, and they're resenters. And these are the people who suffer from too little dominance and this too little submission. Okay, and these become the boss of these. And they're non-cooperators. That's what they are. They just don't cooperate. They say, there's another thing here. Yeah, they ignore, if you say something to them, they ignore you. They don't even look at you in company or something. And they change, if you say something, they just change the subject to something else. Okay? And so changing the subject and ignoring, that's cancelling people. It's lying and cancelling people. Non-cooperators are those who have too little submission. Okay. I think we're getting to the bottom of this diagram. Right. Now in the centre is where the divine couple operates from, with the no I. There's also no you, no we, no us and them. It's basically a place of benevolence and of compassion and the divine couple. And out of this comes the divine couple, the divine group, and the divine nation. They're all being corrected properly by each of these extremes, if you like, are all correcting the other, both in the individual, in the couple, in the group, in the nation. And when you've got that correction working and everybody understands this process, realizes what's right and what's wrong, that this diagram, that this is right and all of this is wrong, that's important. When the whole of society realizes that, then we can get back to a solution to this problem of homosexuality and lesbianism and the growth, tremendous growth of that, and going into even more demonic areas as it extends. It gets worse and worse. The things that these people do get worse and worse as they go lower and lower into demonic activity. This one ends here. It just ends here. For some reason, I don't quite understand what the avatar of synthesis means by that. These ones have arrows, but this one has an end. Perhaps they just kill themselves or something. I don't know. Maybe it ends in death, in suicide or something. I don't know. It's something to think about. Perhaps those people who have gone down this journey of total submission will into slavery. It also results in self-mutilation. I think it starts here with self-mutilation and then ends in suicide. I think that's how it works. Okay. I'll just go back to the seat. Sorry, I cut that off. I was talking about these movements here into this groups together with, that says groups together with. And so this non-cooperator, with this wimp. Yeah, we see this in the Democratic Party. This sort of stuff is more in the Republican Party. And this is where I said it ends. It ends. It can also end in murder too. It can end in serial killers and stuff like that who get rid of these people after they've had their way with them, yeah. Or government people who get rid of the Epstein files. Right, let's have a look. The video's a bit dark because I had to do that for that white paper. I'm not going to be bothered to adjust it. You can see. Okay, so society has brought false teachings into the schools and has taught young boys to be submissive and young girls to be dominant, which is exactly the opposite of what they're supposed to be. So it's just natural that the boys become homosexuals and the girls become lesbians. It's just the fruit of that teaching, yeah. And it's necessary, if you want to have normal children, you can't afford to send them to school unless the schools change. So I don't know what you do really. It's a global problem that's growing. It's coming from America. It comes from Israel actually. Our American Israel is this problem it's coming from. And our American Israel is becoming a matriarchy, yeah. And you can see Donald Trump fought against the matriarchy, yet he's also bringing a problem too, the Andrew Tate problem, yeah. And this is why he doesn't like what's going on with the Epstein files. He wants to shove it under the carpet. Because he's a bully, he's attracted to these young girls and stuff like that. He just naturally is, because all bullies are. So we need to equate bullying and child sex abuse as a common denominator of it, yeah. Now what is brought to you today in this diagram has taken a lot of evolution for man to get to this point where he can understand the problem, because this has been the main problem in society, and this is a problem that we thought we overcame with Donald Trump, but we can see that we're bringing in the other problem. The dominance problem is too much in this Republican Party. We've got a submissive problem and we've got a dominance problem, each using different weapons one against the other. What we need is a working together solution, which the BRICS nations are bringing to the world. And so it's necessary for our American Israel to separate, because Israel is a separate nation, it needs to be its own nation, it's going to continue to be a nation, or it's eliminated from the world. If God thinks that it's committed too many crimes, he will just get rid of it, like he got rid of the Roman Empire, yeah. And the same with the American Empire. Yet there's hope that America may submit. It has to learn submission to the other nations of the world. It's too dominant. It's not submissive enough. And the Chinese are too submissive. They need to learn to be more dominant. and so forth. Each nation has its own issue of either submissiveness or dominance. We still need to submit a reasonable amount, and we need to be dominant a reasonable amount, but only what's reasonable. We cannot go too far in the wrong direction in either submissiveness or dominance. And if we use submissiveness, if we use a lack of submissiveness, this is an evil tactic. It's evil. It's living our life backwards if we want to wriggle out of things in this underhand way. The Democratic Party does, by telling lies. Yeah? And so we can't be telling lies, we've got to be telling the truth, but we have to be not dominant, not too dominant. If there's error there, we need to be completely dominant over the error. We need to dominate the error, not dominate the people. And this way the error will be corrected. The error of submission, of not enough submission, and the error of too much dominance. Both of these errors need to be corrected. And those who are too submissive and not dominant enough need to learn to have more courage to stand up for themselves. I think this summarises it. It's where we're going, where the human race is going, and somehow it was mastered in our parents' generation. In our parents' time they had the opposite problem. With World War II, was a problem of too much dominance. Yeah. And the problem in our time, the Biden administration, all that was too little submission, getting out of things in evil ways. Now the fly's on my cup, so I need to either take this away, wash it, get some more of it, or wash it and make a cup of coffee. So I'll find out which one of those it is, and I'll thank you for watching. I think this is the end of the video. I hope you, I don't say enjoy it, I hope you take it for what it's worth and adapt your lives to live according to it, as we all should, if we don't want the world to turn into some crazy place and all end up burnt to death in this time of war. Thanks for watching.